The council chamber smelled of fear and burnt ozone. Commander Vexthar of the Kaldronian Imperial Fleet had conquered 17 star systems in his career. He'd reduced planets to ash. He'd watched civilizations crumble before his armada. But right now, staring at the flickering hologram in front of him, his secondary hearts were hammering in a rhythm he hadn't felt since his first battle as a young officer. "Replay it," he ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. The tactical officer, a young Kaldronian named Prex, hesitated. His scales had gone pale, almost translucent. "Commander, I don't think—" I said, "Replay it." The hologram flickered to life again. 3 hours ago, the Kaldronian scouting fleet, 12 warships strong, had entered Earth's orbit. Standard intimidation protocol. Show up with overwhelming force, demand surrender, begin the harvest. They'd done it hundreds of times across hundreds of worlds. Simple, efficient, profitable. Except this time, something had gone catastrophically wrong. The footage showed the lead battlecruiser, the Devourer's Claw, hanging in high orbit above the blue and green planet. Captain Zolmix's voice crackled through the recording, confident and bored. Primitive civilization, pre-faster-than-light travel. Energy signatures indicate nuclear-level technology at best. Estimated resistance, minimal. Estimated casualties to our forces, 0. Proceeding with standard harvest protocols, Vexthar watched as the familiar sequence began. Warning broadcasts in every major Earth language. Demands for immediate surrender. The usual threats about orbital bombardment and species extinction. All very routine. And then the humans had responded. Not with surrender, not with panic, not even with the desperate, futile missile launches they usually got from species at this development level. No, the humans had done something far worse. They'd laughed. The transmission came from somewhere in North America. A woman's voice, dripping with the kind of amused contempt that made Vexthar's spine ridges flatten against his back. "Oh, sweetie. Bless your heart. Did you really just threaten us with extinction? That's adorable. Genuinely adorable. Hold on, let me get this straight. You showed up here with 12 ships, and you think that's scary?" There was a pause. Vexthar could hear other voices in the background. Human voices. Laughing. Actually laughing at a Kaldronian battle fleet. The woman continued. "Here's the thing, sugar. We've been trying to kill ourselves for millennia, and we're still here. Wars, plagues, climate disasters, nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons, and one really unfortunate incident with a particle accelerator in Geneva. We've thrown everything at ourselves except the kitchen sink, and honestly, someone probably weaponized that too. We call it Tuesday." Zolmix's response was predictable. Anger, outrage. A threat to demonstrate their weapons on a major population center. "Oh, you're gonna bomb us?" The human woman sounded delighted. "Fantastic, great, wonderful. Hey, quick question though. You see that girl down there? The one in the powered armor launching from that military base? Yeah, her name's Lieutenant Maya Reeves. We call her the Honey Badger. Wanna know why?" The tactical display shifted. A single human figure, impossibly small against the backdrop of space, was ascending on a pillar of blue-white thrust. The armor was crude by Kaldronian standards. Primitive rocket propulsion. Basic kinetic shielding. But there was something about the way it moved, about the sheer audacity of a single soldier launching herself at a warship, that made Vexthar's blood run cold even now, watching the replay. Because, the woman's voice continued, honey badgers don't care. They fight things 50 times their size. They get bitten by cobras and sleep it off. They're mean, they're tough, and they absolutely positively do not know when to quit. Sound familiar? The Devourer's Claw had opened fire. Point defense lasers, plasma cannons, missile pods, everything they had. The human, this Lieutenant Maya Reeves, had simply dodged. Not with fancy technology, not with superior shields. She'd just moved, rolled, twisted, accelerated, and decelerated in patterns that should have liquefied her internal organs but somehow didn't, and then she'd reached the hull. Vexthar watched, his claws digging into his command throne, as the armored figure produced what appeared to be a simple blade. Not a plasma cutter, not a molecular disruptor. A sword. An actual, physical, metal sword that glowed with some kind of thermal enhancement. Her sword shined, Vexthar muttered, echoing the phrase that had already spread through his fleet like a plague. The blade had cut through the Devourer's claw's armor like it was paper. The human had carved her way inside. And then, for 17 minutes, chaos had erupted throughout the ship. Internal sensors showed her moving through corridors, through bulkheads, through anything that got in her way. She'd been outnumbered 2,000 to 1. She hadn't cared. The honey badger roared. Prex whispered, completing the phrase that had become a nightmare mantra for the Kaldronian fleet. The footage showed the final moments. Lieutenant Reeves had reached the reactor core. She'd planted charges. And then, instead of escaping, instead of showing any sense of self-preservation, she'd stayed. Fought off every soldier Zolmix had sent, held her position until the charges detonated, and the entire ship's power systems cascaded into failure. The Devourer's claw had gone dark, dead in space. 1,200 Kaldronian warriors, rendered helpless by one human female with a sword, and what could only be described as an absolutely unhinged commitment to violence. Attention, Kaldronian fleet. The woman's voice had returned, no longer amused, no longer casual. You have 30 seconds to leave our star system. If you're still here in 31 seconds, we're going to assume you want to play. And trust me, you don't want to play. We've been practicing for this kind of fight since we crawled out of caves and started hitting each other with rocks. We've gotten pretty good at it. Captain Zolmix had made the fatal mistake of calling her bluff. The remaining 11 ships had opened fire on Earth. Kinetic bombardment, plasma strikes. Enough firepower to glass a continent. The humans had responded by turning off their sun. Vexthar still didn't understand how they'd done it. Some kind of massive solar screen, deployed from hidden satellites, had blocked the star's light across the entire inner system. For 6 seconds, everything had gone dark. 6 seconds of total, absolute blackness. When the light returned, 5 more Kaldronian ships were gone. Just gone. No debris. No energy signatures. Nothing. What did they do? Vexthar had asked his science officer a dozen times. How did they destroy 5 warships in 6 seconds? The science officer had just stared at the data and shaken his head. Commander, I don't think they destroyed them. I think they moved them. Spatial displacement on a scale that should be impossible for their technology level. They're still running the calculations, but preliminary estimates suggest those ships are now somewhere near the edge of the galaxy. Still intact. Still functional. Just very, very far away. The remaining 6 ships had retreated, jumped to faster than light speed without waiting for proper calculations. 3 had made it out of the system. 3 had collided with what turned out to be a minefield of human satellites, each one equipped with kinetic kill vehicles that had turned the warships into expanding clouds of superheated gas. Show me the final transmission, Vexthar ordered. Prex looked like he wanted to refuse, but he complied. The hologram showed the woman again. She was standing in what looked like a military command center, surrounded by other humans who were all grinning like predators who just discovered their prey was both delicious and stupid. Let me be absolutely clear, the woman said, and her voice had dropped into something cold and hard. This was us being nice. This was us pulling our punches. This was us giving you a chance to run away. If you come back, if any of your friends come back, if anyone even thinks about coming back, we will not be nice. We will not pull our punches. We will show you exactly why we're the only species on our planet that hunts for sport, why we domesticated wolves, just so we'd have something to keep us company while we committed genocide against everything else that annoyed us, and why the most dangerous predator in Earth's history isn't the one with the biggest teeth. It's the one that figured out how to make bigger teeth. She'd leaned closer to the camera. Go home. Tell your people. Tell everyone. The humans are off limits. We're crazy. We're mean. And we really, really don't know when to quit. The transmission had ended. The 3 surviving ships had made it back to Kaldronian space 6 hours ago. 2 of the captains had immediately requested medical leave for psychological trauma. The 3rd had resigned his commission and joined a monastery. Now, standing in his command center with the entire invasion fleet assembled around him, 200 warships strong, Vexthar faced the question that would define his career and possibly his species' future. Did they go back? The High Command wanted revenge. The Emperor himself had called for Earth to be reduced to molten slag. But Vexthar had watched that footage 17 times now. He'd analyzed every second, And he'd come to a terrifying conclusion. The humans hadn't been trying. That entire confrontation, the destruction of 9 warships and the displacement of 5 more, the casual brutality of it all, had been them showing restraint. Testing the waters. Seeing what the Kaldronian fleet could do before, they decided whether or not to bother getting serious. "Commander," Prex said quietly, "the fleet is awaiting your orders. Do we proceed with the invasion?" Vexthar stared at the hologram of Earth, spinning peacefully in the darkness. Such a small planet. Such an insignificant world. They'd conquered hundreds like it. But none of those other worlds had produced someone like Lieutenant Maya Reeves. None of them had laughed at a battle fleet. None of them had turned off their sun just to make a point. "Send a message to High Command," Vexthar said finally. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "Tell them the invasion is postponed indefinitely. Tell them we need to reassess the tactical situation. Tell them." He paused. "Tell them the humans are not what we thought they were." "What are they, Commander?" Vexthar thought about the woman's warning. About Lieutenant Reeves carving through his ship like an avatar of destruction. About an entire species that had spent millennia trying to kill itself and had only managed to get stronger. There's something worse than warriors, Prex. They're survivors. And survivors, real survivors, are the most dangerous things in the universe because they've already lost everything once. They know what it's like, and they've decided they're never going to let it happen again. He turned away from the hologram. "Set course for home, maximum speed." "And Prex?" "Yes, Commander. Delete all navigation data for Earth. Every coordinate, every star chart, every piece of information that could lead someone back there. If anyone asks, tell them we never found it. Tell them it was a dead end. Tell them anything except the truth." "Which is?" Vexthar met his officer's eyes. "That we found something we can't conquer, something we shouldn't conquer. And if we're smart, we'll make sure nobody else ever finds it either." The fleet began its withdrawal, 200 warships turning away from a single planet. As they prepared to jump to faster than light speed, a final transmission came from Earth. Not a threat, not a warning, just a simple message that would haunt Vexthar's dreams for the rest of his life. "Thanks for visiting, don't come back, we'd hate to be inhospitable." Followed by that sound. That terrible, wonderful, horrifying sound. Laughter, human laughter. The fleet jumped, and the aliens never returned. 3 cycles later, the memory of Earth haunted the Kaldronian Empire like a ghost that refused to die. Vexthar stood in the Grand Assembly Hall on Kaldros Prime, the throne world of his species, and tried not to let his fear show. Around him, representatives from 47 different civilizations waited in silence. The Emergency Council had been convened for the first time in 600 years. That alone should have told everyone how serious this situation had become. But it got worse, so much worse. "They're expanding," Ambassador Krill of the Methodian Collective announced, her crystalline form pulsing with anxiety. "Our scouts report human vessels in 11 new systems. 11, in 3 cycles. They're not even using conventional faster-than-light drives, they're doing something else. Something we can't track." High Chancellor Mortgan, a massive creature from the Tarvian hegemony, slammed his claws on the table. "This is unacceptable. One primitive world has sent the mighty Kaldronian fleet running with their tails between their legs, and now they're spreading across our territory like a plague. We should have glassed that planet when we had the chance." Vexthar felt his jaw clench. "You weren't there, Chancellor. You didn't see what they were capable of." "I saw the reports," Mortgan growled. "One female in armor destroyed a battlecruiser. So what? Send 100 ships next time. Send 1,000. Overwhelm them with numbers." "That's what the Varanthi Concordat tried," a new voice interjected. Everyone turned. Admiral Kes Ral of the Varanthi military limped into the chamber, his body bearing fresh scars that medical technology should have healed instantly. The fact that they hadn't was disturbing all by itself. "Explain," Mortgan demanded. Kesral's laugh was bitter and broken. 2 weeks ago, we detected human mining operations in the Epsilon Tertius system, our territory, our claim. We sent a diplomatic vessel to negotiate their withdrawal. They responded with an invitation to discuss terms. And? Krill leaned forward. "It was a trap. Obviously. We knew it was a trap. So we sent 300 warships. 300. We surrounded their little mining station, blocked all escape routes, and demanded surrender. Kesrel's eyes had gone distant, haunted. They sent out one ship, a cargo hauler, unarmed. At least, that's what our scanners showed. Vexthar felt his stomach drop. He knew where this was going. The cargo hauler docked with our flagship, Kesrel continued. The human ambassador came aboard. His name was Jack Morgan, big fellow. Smiled a lot. Very friendly. Kept apologizing for the misunderstanding. Said they didn't realize it was our territory. Said they'd be happy to leave. But, Mortgan prompted. But first, he wanted to show us something. He called it a demonstration of good faith. He opened his briefcase and pulled out this small device. No bigger than my hand. Placed it on the conference table and activated it. Kesrel's voice dropped to a whisper. For 3 seconds, every ship in our fleet lost power. Every single one. Life support, weapons, engines, communications. Everything. 300 warships, dead in space, completely helpless. The chamber erupted in chaos. Voices overlapping, demanding answers, calling for war, calling for retreat, calling for anything that made sense. Silence. The Emperor's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Emperor Draxkal had ruled the Kaldronian Empire for 400 years. He'd seen the rise and fall of civilizations. Nothing was supposed to frighten him anymore. But Vexthar could see the tension in his posture, the way his tail curled defensively. What happened next? Kesrel swallowed hard. The human, this Jack Morgan, he just kept smiling. Said that was their non-lethal option. Said they developed it specifically for situations like this because, and I quote, killing was messy, and they preferred to keep things professional. Then he asked if we still wanted to discuss their surrender, or if maybe we should talk about something else. You negotiated, Krill said flatly. What choice did we have? We were floating in dead ships, breathing recycled air that wouldn't last more than a few hours. He had us completely at his mercy. Kesrel's scales had gone gray with shame. We signed a treaty. Gave them mining rights to 17 systems. Agreed to a non-aggression pact. Promised to spread the word that humans were under Varanthi protection and anyone who attacked them would face our full military response. You made them our allies? Mortgan's voice rose to a roar. You gave them legitimacy? I saved 300 ships and 60,000 lives. Kesrel shot back. And before you judge me too harshly, Chancellor, you should know that 2 days after we left, the Sarkanian Dominion decided to test the humans. Figured the Varanthi were weak and the humans were bluffing. What happened to the Sarkanians? Vexthar asked, though part of him didn't want to know. They sent a war moon. You know, those mobile planet killers they're so proud of? Took them 3 centuries to build it. Powered by a captured black hole. Shields that could withstand a supernova. The most powerful weapon in known space. Kesrel pulled up a hologram. This is what's left of it. The image showed debris. Just debris. Scattered across 1,000,000 kilometers of space, torn apart with such violence that the pieces were still radiating heat. How? Krill breathed. We don't know. The Sarkanians won't talk about it. But our intelligence managed to intercept one transmission before their war moon was destroyed. Want to hear it? No one answered, but Kesrel played the recording anyway. A human voice, male this time, casual and almost bored. Hey there, war moon. Nice ride. Real impressive. Here's the thing though. We've been watching you charge up that black hole cannon for the last 6 hours. We get it. Big boom. Very scary. But while you were doing that, we did a little math. Turns out, if you destabilize the containment field in just the right way, that black hole doesn't shoot at us. It shoots at you. Physics is fun, isn't it? The transmission ended with screaming. Then silence. The chamber remained quiet for a long moment. They weaponized a black hole against its own ship, Mortgan said slowly. They turned the most powerful weapon in known space into a suicide device. In 6 hours. 4 hours, Kesrel corrected. They spent the first 2 hours trying to negotiate. The Sarkanians refused. Emperor Draxkal rose from his throne. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. It seems we face a unique situation, a species that possesses technology beyond our understanding, military capabilities that defy conventional tactics, and a disturbing tendency to turn our own weapons against us. The question is, what do we do about it? We could form a coalition, Krill suggested. Every species in the known galaxy, united against the human threat. That would require trust, Vexthar said quietly, and cooperation, and time. 3 things we've never been good at. Meanwhile, the humans expand, they learn, they adapt. By the time we organized a proper response, they'd be everywhere. So we do nothing? Mortgan demanded. We just let them take whatever they want? No, the Emperor said. We do something much harder. We talk to them. The chamber exploded again. Accusations of cowardice, threats of rebellion, predictions of the Empire's fall. But Draxcal raised his hand and silence fell like a hammer. I am not suggesting surrender. I am suggesting survival. Every species that has attacked the humans has failed. Every species that has negotiated with them has prospered. The Varanthi now have mining rights in human-controlled space. They're sharing technology, trading resources, building something neither side could achieve alone. You want us to ally with them, Vexthar said, understanding dawning. I want us to not be stupid, Draxcal replied. The humans are not going away. They're not going to stop expanding. And we have 2 choices. We can fight them and lose, or we can work with them and benefit. I prefer the option where my species survives. They humiliated us, Mortgan growled. They defended themselves, Draxcal corrected. There's a difference. We showed up with warships and demanded surrender. They responded with overwhelming force. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. They showed us exactly what would happen if we pushed, and then they gave us a chance to walk away. Most species wouldn't have been that generous. Vexthar found himself nodding. The Emperor was right. The humans could have destroyed the entire fleet, could have pursued them back to Kaldros Prime, could have done a lot of things. Instead, they'd just said no, and sent them home. I'll go, Vexthar heard himself say. I'll go to Earth. As an ambassador. The chamber fell silent again. Are you certain? Draxcal asked. I've seen what they can do in war. I'd like to see what they can do in peace. And if I'm being honest, I'm curious. Any species that fights like that survives like that, must have something extraordinary driving them. I want to know what it is. 6 weeks later, Vexthar stood in a shuttle approaching Earth, his heart's pounding in a rhythm that was becoming familiar. Fear mixed with anticipation, dread mixed with hope. The human controller's voice crackled over the communication system. Kaldronian vessel, you are cleared for landing at Geneva. Spaceport. Welcome to Earth. Please keep your appendages inside the vehicle at all times, and try not to be alarmed by the wildlife. We promise the bears are mostly friendly. Bears? Vexthar asked his pilot. I think it's a joke, Commander. Humans seem to joke about everything, even when they're terrified. The shuttle landed, the door opened, and Vexthar stepped onto Earth for the first time. The gravity was heavier than Kaldros Prime. The air smelled strange, sweet and sharp at the same time. And standing on the landing platform, waiting for him, was a woman in a military uniform. She was older than he expected. Gray hair, scars on her face that medical technology could have erased but she'd chosen to keep. And when she smiled, it was the smile of someone who'd seen the worst the universe had to offer and had decided to keep going anyway. Commander Vexthar, she said, extending her hand. Welcome to Earth. My name is General Rebecca Torres. I'll be your liaison during your stay. Vexthar stared at the offered hand, remembering the briefing about human greeting rituals. He reached out and grasped it. Her grip was firm, strong, the grip of a warrior. Thank you for receiving me, General. I must admit, I expected to meet Lieutenant Reeves. Torres laughed, actually laughed. Maya? Oh, she wanted to be here. But we figured sending the woman who carved up your flagship might send the wrong message. She's around, though. You'll probably meet her at the reception tonight. Fair warning. She's going to apologize for the whole sword thing. She feels bad about it. She feels bad, Vexthar repeated slowly. About destroying a battlecruiser single-handedly. Well, yeah. She says she got carried away. First, real space battle and all. Adrenaline rush. You know how it is. Torres started walking toward a waiting vehicle. Come on. We've got a lot to show you. And a lot to talk about. As they drove through the streets of Geneva, Vexthar stared out the window at the humans going about their lives. Laughing. Fighting, creating, destroying, living with an intensity that seemed to radiate from every pore. "Can I ask you something, General?" Vexthar said finally. "Shoot. Why do you fight so hard? Why do you refuse to quit, even when quitting would be easier? What drives you?" Torres was quiet for a moment. "You ever read our history, Commander?" "Some of it. Wars, plagues, disasters. Then you know we've been knocked down more times than you can count. And every single time, we got back up. You know why?" She turned to look at him. "Because we're stubborn. Because we're mean. Because somewhere along the line, humanity looked at the universe and decided that if we were going down fighting. And then we decided we weren't going down at all." She smiled again. That terrible, wonderful smile. "We're not the strongest species, we're not the smartest, we're not even the prettiest, though don't tell the French that. But we are absolutely, without question, the most stubborn, vindictive, creative, insane species to ever crawl out of a gravity well. And if the universe wants to kill us, it's going to have to work a lot harder than it has been." Vexthar found himself smiling too. "I believe we made a mistake, coming to your world." "Yeah, you did. But hey, everyone makes mistakes. The trick is learning from them." Torres pulled out a data tablet. "Now, let's talk about this alliance the Emperor proposed. We've got some ideas that might interest you." The talks lasted 3 weeks. In the end, the Kaldronian Empire became the first major power to sign a mutual defense treaty with Earth. Trade agreements followed. Technology exchanges, cultural programs. Within a year, human advisors were teaching Kaldronian soldiers new tactics. Kaldronian scientists were learning human engineering principles. The two species, so different and yet so similar in their stubbornness, found common ground. And Lieutenant Maya Reeves did, indeed, apologize for the sword incident. Over drinks, while demonstrating the new Mark 7 combat armor that could, theoretically, take down a Star Destroyer with minimal support, she was extremely polite about it. On his last day on Earth, Vexthar stood in the same spot where he'd first landed. General Torres was there to see him off. "Thank you," he said simply, "for not destroying us when you could have. Thank you for being smart enough to talk instead of fight." Torres replied, "Not everyone is. What happens to those who aren't? The species who keep attacking you?" Torres's smile faded. For just a moment, Vexthar saw something hard and cold in her eyes. Something that reminded him why humans were apex predators on a planet full of monsters. "We keep giving them chances," she said quietly. "Right up until we don't. And then we show them what happens when humanity stops being nice." Vexthar nodded. He understood. He'd seen the footage. He knew what humans were capable of when they decided to stop pulling their punches. He just hoped the rest of the galaxy was smart enough to learn the lesson. As his shuttle lifted off, Vexthar looked down at Earth one last time. Such a small world. Such an impossible species. And somehow, against all odds, they'd taken their place among the stars, not through conquest or subjugation, but through sheer, bloody-minded determination to survive. Her sword shined, the honey badger roared, and the aliens never returned. At least, not as enemies. And that, Vexthar thought, made all the difference.